let's talk about what's really in your bourbon glass. For millions of Americans, especially those of us over 55, bourbon is more than a drink. It's a tradition, a comfort, and a little bit of American history in every pour. But here's the uncomfortable truth: not all bourbon is created equal. Some of the most popular brands in America are selling you a product that's more about marketing than mash bill, more about shelf life than flavor, and sometimes more about cutting corners than Kentucky craftsmanship. The bourbon aisle is a maze of global conglomerates, craft imposters, and bottles that promise small batch or handcrafted but deliver disappointment, or worse, a hangover you'll remember for days. Today we're pulling back the curtain. We're going to show you 10 American bourbon brands you must avoid, the ones that are more about profit than purity, more about hype than heritage, and more about shortcuts than sipping pleasure. This isn't about fear-mongering, it's about making sure you're an informed sipper, especially if you're over 55 and want to keep your health, your budget, and your peace of mind intact. If you're tired of being fooled by advertising, frustrated by bland or harsh pours, or just want to know what's really going on with the bourbon you buy every week, stick around, because the truth about bourbon is more complicated and more important than you think. Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel where we read the label so you don't get played. Like many of you, I remember a time when bourbon was simple. You went to the local store, you got a bottle, and you trusted that you were getting real Kentucky craftsmanship. But somewhere along the way, the bourbon aisle became a battleground between quality and cost-cutting, tradition and trend. I've spent a lot of time digging into the world of bourbon, reading product labels, checking for distillery transparency, and comparing what brands promise with what they actually deliver. I've seen the difference between a bottle of rich, complex bourbon and a bottle of harsh, flavorless disappointment. I've learned that not all bourbon is created equal, and that sometimes the label is the last thing you should trust. And today we're talking about the big names you see every week at the liquor store. We'll look at the store brands that promise savings, the premium brands that promise quality, and the craft options that promise to solve all your worries. Some of them are doing it right, but many of them, in my opinion, are selling you a bottle of mediocrity. This is about getting back to basics and finding real, satisfying bourbon in a world of shortcuts. Ready to find out which brands are worth your money? Let's get to the truth. Not all bourbon is made where you think. Many craft or small batch bourbons are actually sourced from giant distilleries like MGP in Indiana, Distilled Spirits Plant Number DSP-IN-. The label might say bottled by or produced by, but that doesn't mean it was distilled there. Small batch and handcrafted mean nothing legally. There's no legal definition for small batch or handcrafted. A small batch could be 10 barrels or 10,000. Don't let the label fool you. Age statements are disappearing. Many brands are dropping age statements to use younger whiskey. Straight bourbon must be at least 2 years old, but that's a low bar. Older isn't always better, but transparency is key. Number 10, Kentucky Gentleman. The vodka bourbon problem. Kentucky Gentleman is a bottom shelf staple, but here's the catch. It's not even 100% bourbon. It's a blend of bourbon and grain neutral spirits. Think vodka. That means it's legally allowed to taste thin, hot, and one-dimensional. If you want a bourbon that actually tastes like bourbon, skip this one. Unique issue. Blended with neutral grain spirit, legally bourbon, but tastes like cheap vodka with a hint of oak. Who buys it? People looking for the cheapest bourbon for mixing, or let's be honest, for hiding in cola. Tasting notes: hot, thin, with a sharp alcohol bite and almost no sweetness or oak. Number 9, Old Crow. The minimum age, maximum disappointment bottle. Old Crow is a legacy brand, but it's aged for the legal minimum, 3 years, and chill filtered to death. The result? A pour that's thin, grainy, and has a sharp young alcohol bite. It's not undrinkable, but it's a far cry from the Old Crow of your granddad's day. Unique issue: chill filtered, young, and stripped of character. It's bourbon in name, but not in soul. Who buys it? Budget shoppers and folks who remember the name, not the taste. Tasting notes: grain forward, sharp, with a short, hot finish and little complexity. Number 8, Benchmark Old Number 8. The Buffalo Trace Budget Letdown. Benchmark is made by Buffalo Trace, but don't let the distillery fool you. This is their entry-level 3-year-old 80 proof bourbon. It's thin, light, and lacks the depth you expect from Buffalo Trace. It's not bad for mixing, but it's a letdown for sipping. Unique issue: aged young, bottled at the legal minimum proof, and tastes like it. Buffalo Trace can do better. Who buys it? People who want a Buffalo Trace label at a bottom shelf price. Tasting notes: light caramel, faint vanilla, but mostly watery and forgettable. Number 7, Jim Beam White Label. The chill-filtered, mass-produced classic. Jim Beam White Label is the best-selling bourbon in the world, but it's also the most over-filtered. Chill filtration strips out flavor and mouthfeel, leaving a pour that's clean but bland. It's fine for mixing, but if you want complexity, look elsewhere. Unique issue: chill filtration and mass production kill the character. It's bourbon for people who want bourbon to taste like nothing. Who buys it? People who want a safe, inoffensive mixer. Tasting notes: mild vanilla, light oak, but mostly thin and a little hot. Number 6, Bulleit Bourbon. The sourced, not distilled dilemma. Bulleit is everywhere, but for years it was sourced from MGP in Indiana, not distilled by Bulleit. The label now says, distilled and aged in the Bulleit family tradition, but the company is still cagey about where every drop comes from. The high rye mash bill gives it a spicy kick, but the flavor can be inconsistent. Unique issue: sourcing confusion, inconsistent batches, and a reputation built more on branding than transparency. Who buys it? People who want a craft label but don't check the fine print. Tasting notes: spicy rye, orange peel, but can be hot and unbalanced. Number 5, Basil Hayden's. The overpriced, underproofed bourbon. Basil Hayden's is marketed as a premium, small batch bourbon, but it's bottled at just 80 proof. That's the legal minimum for bourbon, and it shows. The flavor is light, watery, and lacks the depth you expect for the price. It's a $40 bottle that drinks like a $15 one. Unique issue: low proof, high price, and a reputation that doesn't match the pour. Who buys it? People who want a smooth bourbon and don't mind paying for the label. Tasting notes: light caramel, gentle spice, but watery and short on finish. Number 4, Jefferson's Very Small Batch. The sourced and overpriced hype bottle. Jefferson's is famous for its ocean-aged bourbon, but their Very Small Batch is a blend of sourced bourbons, often from Kentucky and Indiana. The age is undisclosed, and the price is high for what you get. It's a classic example of a craft brand that's really just a bottler. Unique issue: no distillery transparency, no age statement, and a price that's hard to justify. Who buys it? People who fall for the ocean voyage story and don't check the details. Tasting notes: sweet corn, vanilla, but thin and lacking depth for the price. Number 3, Calumet Farm 8-year. The age statement but no substance bottle. Calumet Farm 8-year looks great on the shelf, but it's a sourced bourbon with little information about the distillery. The flavor is thin for an 8-year, and the price is high for what you get. It's a bottle that looks premium, but drinks like a mid-shelf pour. Unique issue: sourced, no DSP, and a price that's more about the horse farm label than the whiskey. Who buys it? People who want an age statement and a pretty bottle. Tasting notes: light oak, faint caramel, but surprisingly thin and short for the age. Number 2, Blanton's Single Barrel. The overhyped, overpriced unicorn. Blanton's is the original single barrel bourbon, but the hype has gotten out of control. Secondary market prices are sky high, and the flavor, while good, isn't worth the chase. It's a solid pour, but not a $150 bottle. Unique issue: hype-driven scarcity, secondary market gouging, and a flavor that doesn't match the price. Who buys it? Collectors, flippers, and people who want the horse stopper for their shelf. Tasting notes: honey, citrus, light spice, but not as complex as the price suggests. Number 1, worst celebrity and influencer bourbons. The all hype, no heritage bottles. The worst bourbons you can buy in 2026 are the celebrity and influencer brands. These are bottles with a famous name, a slick label, and a sourced whiskey inside. The price is high, the age is low, and the story is all marketing. What's the problem? These bourbons are often sourced from MGP or other big distilleries, bottled with a celebrity's name and sold at a premium. The flavor is generic, the age is young, and the price is outrageous. The experience. Celebrity bourbons are the ultimate all-hat, no-cattle product. You're paying for a name, not for quality. Why it's the worst? Celebrity and influencer bourbons are the bottom of the barrel. They're expensive, overhyped, and often indistinguishable from much cheaper bottles. Tasting notes. Generic caramel, vanilla, and ethanol. Nothing you can't get for $20. Now that we've called out the worst, let's talk about the bourbon brands that are actually worth your money. These brands prove that you can still find real, delicious bourbon in the liquor store if you know where to look. Number 7. Wild Turkey 101. The old school, no-nonsense classic. Wild Turkey 101 is a classic high rye bourbon that's bottled at 101 proof. It's bold, spicy, and full of character. It's not fancy, but it's honest. What makes it great? Wild Turkey 101 is made at the Wild Turkey Distillery, DSP-KY- aged longer than most entry-level bourbons and bottled at a higher proof for more flavor. Tasting notes, caramel, vanilla, baking spice, and a long, warming finish. Why it's great? Wild Turkey 101 is a classic American bourbon that delivers on flavor, quality, and tradition. It's a great choice for anyone who wants a real bourbon experience. Number 6. Old Forester 100 Proof. The Bottled in Bond Bargain. Old Forester 100 Proof is a bottled in bond style bourbon that's rich, spicy, and full of flavor. It's made at Brown-Forman's DSP-KY 414. What makes it great? Old Forester 100 Proof is aged longer than most entry-level bourbons and bottled at a higher proof for more flavor. Tasting notes, brown sugar, cherry, baking spice, and a long, warming finish. Why it's great? Old Forester 100 Proof is a classic American bourbon that delivers on flavor, quality, and tradition. It's a great choice for anyone who wants a real bourbon experience. Number 5. Evan Williams Bottled in Bond. The best value in bourbon, Evan Williams. Bottled in Bond White Label is a 100 proof 4-year-old bourbon made at Heaven Hill, DSP-KY-. It's one of the best values in bourbon. What makes it great? Evan Williams Bottled in Bond is aged 4 years, bottled at 100 proof, and made by one distiller in one season. It's a sign of quality and tradition. Tasting notes, caramel, vanilla, oak, and a hint of spice. Why it's great? Evan Williams Bottled in Bond is a classic American bourbon that delivers on flavor, quality, and value. It's a great choice for anyone who wants a real bourbon experience. Number 4. Four Roses Single Barrel. The high rye, high flavor standout. Four Roses. Single Barrel is a high rye bourbon that's rich, complex, and full of character. It's made at Four Roses Distillery, DSP-KY-3. What makes it great? Four Roses Single Barrel is aged longer than most entry-level bourbons and bottled at a higher proof for more flavor. Tasting notes, rye spice, honey, cherry, and a long, complex finish. Why it's great? Four Roses Single Barrel is a classic American bourbon that delivers on flavor, quality, and tradition. It's a great choice for anyone who wants a real bourbon experience. Number 3. Elijah Craig's Small Batch. The barrel-forward balanced bourbon. Elijah Craig's Small Batch is a barrel-forward bourbon that's rich, balanced, and full of flavor. It's made at Heaven Hill, DSP-KY-. What makes it great? Elijah Craig's Small Batch is aged longer than most entry-level bourbons and bottled at a higher proof for more flavor. Tasting notes, toffee, vanilla, oak, and a hint of smoke. Why it's great? Elijah Craig's Small Batch is a classic American bourbon that delivers on flavor, quality, and tradition. It's a great choice for anyone who wants a real bourbon experience. Number 2. Henry McKenna. Single barrel bottled in bond. The award-winning age-stated gem. Henry McKenna. Single barrel bottled in bond is a 10-year-old 100 proof bourbon made at Heaven Hill, DSP-KY-. It's won multiple awards including Best Bourbon at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. What makes it great? Henry McKenna Single Barrel is aged 10 years, bottled at 100 proof, and made by one distiller in one season. It's a sign of quality and tradition. Tasting notes: caramel, vanilla, oak, and a long, complex finish. Why it's great. Henry McKenna Single Barrel Bottled in Bond is a classic American bourbon that delivers on flavor, quality, and tradition. It's a great choice for anyone who wants a real bourbon experience. Number 1. Best Old Granddad 114. The high proof, high value powerhouse. Old Granddad 114 is a high rye, high proof bourbon that's bold, spicy, and full of character. It's made at Beam Suntory, DSP-KY-230. What makes it the best? Old Granddad 114 is bottled at 114 proof, giving it a bold, intense flavor. The high rye mash bill adds spice and complexity. Tasting notes: rye spice, caramel, vanilla, and a long, warming finish. Why it's the best? Old Granddad 114 is a classic American bourbon that delivers on flavor, quality, and value. It's a great choice for anyone who wants a real bourbon experience. How to read a bourbon label. 1. Look for straight bourbon. By law, straight bourbon must be aged at least 2 years and contain no added coloring or flavoring. 2. Check the age statement. Older bourbon is generally smoother and more complex, but age isn't everything. Look for bottles with an age statement of at least 4 years for a good balance. 3. Look for bottled in bond. Bottled in bond bourbon is aged at least 4 years, bottled at 100 proof, and made by one distiller in one season. It's a sign of quality and tradition. 4. Check the proof. Higher proof bourbons, 90 to 100 plus, often have more flavor and complexity. 5. Look for transparency. The best brands are transparent about their sourcing, their mash bill, and their process. 6. Know your DSP. Every distillery has a DSP, Distilled Spirits Plant Number. If a bottle lists a DSP, you can trace where it was made. 7. Avoid blended or flavored bourbons. These products often contain added sugars, artificial flavors, and lower quality spirits. Bourbon tips for older adults. 1. Watch your portion size. As we age, our bodies process alcohol differently. Enjoy bourbon in moderation and savor the experience. 2. Choose straight or bottled in bond. These bourbons are held to higher standards and are less likely to contain additives. 3. Avoid flavored or blended bourbons. These products often contain added sugars, artificial flavors, and lower quality spirits. 4. Store bourbon. Properly, keep bourbon in a cool, dark place, away from heat and sunlight. 5. Rotate your stock. Use the first in, first out method. Use older bottles first and replace them with new ones. 6. Check for recalls and safety issues. Brands with a history of recalls, contamination, or legal trouble should be approached with caution. 7. Be wary of miracle claims. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Stick to brands that are transparent and evidence-based. Common questions about bourbon safety. Is bourbon safe to drink? Bourbon is safe to drink in moderation. Always drink responsibly and consult your doctor if you have health concerns. What does straight bourbon mean? Straight bourbon is aged at least 2 years and contains no added coloring or flavoring. Is older bourbon better? Older bourbon is generally smoother and more complex, but taste is subjective. Can I store bourbon after opening? Yes. Bourbon can be stored for years after opening if kept in a cool, dark place. What's the best way to enjoy bourbon? Sip bourbon neat with a splash of water or over ice. Avoid mixing with sugary sodas. So there you have it, from the bland, harsh disappointment at the bottom to the rich, flavorful goodness at the top. The bourbon aisle doesn't have to be a confusing landscape of marketing hype and empty promises. You just need to know what to look for. Remember, real bourbon is about quality ingredients, careful aging, and transparent labeling. It doesn't need a long list of additives or intense processing to be good for you. In fact, the less that's done to it, the better it is. The bourbon industry has spent a fortune convincing us that their factory blended product is normal, but now you know better. You know that there are still brands out there who are committed to producing bourbon the right way. Every time you choose a bottle of high quality, traditionally made bourbon over a bottle of industrial blended whiskey, you are voting with your wallet for a better spirits industry, one that values flavor, tradition, and your health. If this video changed how you think about the bourbon in your cabinet, smash that like button and subscribe for more food and drink industry deep dives. Drop a comment below and let me know. Which bourbon brand shocked you the most? And what's your go-to brand now that you know the truth? Until next time, read those labels, support traditional distillers, and never settle for a pale imitation when you can have the real thing. Your taste buds will thank you.